Hey, how's it going everyone? In this video I'm going to make ormus again and show you the process from beginning to end. Firstly, I just want to say that I'm not a scientist or a professional. I'm just someone who has been experimenting making with ormus and taking it. So the method I use may not be 100% correct, but it seems to be working alright for me. I use my style is kind of like a naked style, so I don't really worry too much about the accuracy of how much salt I use or milliliters of water. All I try to do is use the dead sea salt method and raise the pH of a brine to 10.78, maximum 10.78. And I just try to get the range between 10.65 to 10.78, and it seems to be fine for me. So firstly what I do is I calibrate my pH meter. I've already done this before off camera, before I started, because it can take some time. I have my two calibration solutions here. My pH meter calibrates to 6.68 and 7.01. So if your pH meter is different, then you just need to follow the instructions on your pH meter. You also need a pH meter which goes to 2 decimal places, okay? Because it will help with a more accurate reading. So I also have my sodium hydroxide solutions here. All I've done is use caustic soda. Normally I have liquid sodium hydroxide, but at the moment I can't find a shop which sells it. So what I've done is I've basically it's not 100% accurate, but I've just gone for this bottle 10 grams to 100 mils, and for this one 20, I forgot, sorry, but it's about 15% sodium hydroxide to 10% sodium hydroxide. So 30 grams to 200 mils, sorry. I've also got my dead sea salt here. I just bought this from an online health store in my local neighborhood, or not in my city, sorry. And some people ask me where to buy good dead sea salt from. I recommend you just shop around and try for yourself. Sometimes I've bought sea salt, dead sea salt online, and it was fake. So you just gotta shop around and find. You'll know if it's dead sea salt. If you taste it, and it has a very strong, not even salty flavor. It's beyond salty. Also, when you make ormus, you'll make a lot of ormus from very little salt compared to something like a sea salt. Just a regular sea salt, you won't get much ormus from the same amount of salt. So there's two ways to find out whether it's good salt or not. So yeah, the health store in my city, online health store, is where I bought that. It was $20 New Zealand for 1 kilogram, so it's not too bad. And I can make a lot of ormus from that. Okay, the next thing I've got is my distilled water. I like to use distilled water. This is actually distilled drinking water, but it's the best quality I can find at the moment. If I had the option, I would just get a water distiller and use that water. but until then, this will suffice. So yep, I'm going to begin making the ormus. So I'm going to stand up for this. Okay, so use glass jars, bowls and utensils. If possible, if you can, use glass utensils. I've only got my wooden spoon. I've been using this to make ormus for a few years now, but a glass utensil to stir it would be optimal, I'd say. So I'm just going to grab some dead sea salt, just about 100 grams. So just about 100 grams, roughly 100 grams. And now I place the pH meter here, because what's going to happen is I'm going to be adding more liquid to the jar. So I don't want the liquid to go too far up the pH meter at this stage. By the end it'll be right up to the electrical parts of the pH meter. It's just there is fine. It's just touching the electrode now. Okay, now what I do is I stir the salt and water. Dead sea salt dissolves quite easily actually compared to some other salts like rock salt. Although it kind of looks like rock salt, it dissolves quite easily. You don't want to use too much salt to water ratio, because salt particles can only attach to, so many salt particles can only attach to a certain amount of liquid molecules, water molecules. So if you have too much salt, it won't all dissolve. Okay. In my other videos I didn't wear gloves. That's because I was a chef for 7 years and we would use caustic soda in the kitchen almost every night to clean the kitchen, and I just got used to the burn feeling that you get from a little bit going on your skins, and it never really bothered me. But some people have commented in my previous videos recommending that I use gloves, so now I'm going to use gloves for this video. Okay, so now it's all dissolved. I'm going to put the pH meter in, turn it on. Alright, and I'm just going to stir and begin to add the 15% sodium hydroxide solution first. The reason why I add this one first is because it's slower to raise the pH past 10.1, about that. So I use a higher percentage first, and then afterwards, when it gets closer, it becomes more sensitive and easy to raise the pH of the solution, so I drop down to a 10%. Alright, so here we go. You start to see the water turning white, and that's the ormus. So yeah, I'm just going to continue adding this and stirring until it reaches 10.78. At the moment it's at 9.82. Okay, it's at 10. What can often happen is it'll go to around about 9.8 to 10, and it can be quite hard to push that barrier. It may even go up and down in that zone quite a bit. So just what happens is when it does go past it though, you just got to be careful, because that's when it's quite sensitive to the sodium hydroxide, and it can shoot up really quickly. So just be mindful and be patient. So when it starts to go up to about 10.5, I'm going to switch to the other sodium hydroxide. Okay, it's at 10.2, so I think it's gone through that zone, the hard to push zone. Just going to slow it down with this one. I don't want to go too far over too quickly. Okay, it's about 10.5 now. Oh, it's gone back down. I'm just going to add one more drop. Okay. Okay. Yep, 10.5. Now I'm switching to the 10% solution, and just going to slowly add this one. I don't want to push it too fast. Like I said, at this stage it can shoot up quite quickly with the smallest amount added. And you can ruin your whole batch of ormus if it goes up too far. You might end up with a pH of 11 or something. Some people have recommended to use vinegar to lower the pH, white vinegar, but I would rather just have a nice clean batch of ormus and start again. So that's just me though. So yeah, 10.65. Now I just want it between 10.65 and 10.78. What often happens is it goes up, and then as it mixes through the solution it can drop back down slowly. Depending on how good your pH meter is as well. I heard that if you go over 10.78, then toxic heavy metals are released into the batch, so that's what we don't want. So yeah, just be patient. Okay, that's the last drop. It's at 10.73 now. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera. 10.72, it's slowly dropping down, but I'm going to leave it at that. Quite happy with that. It's bouncing between 7.2 and 7.3. So now what I do, oh, forgot. Is to protect it from EMF, people recommend to wrap it with tin foil or aluminium foil. So I put a lid on it first, like this. Okay. And then just go around it. Yes. As you could see, I'm just a homemaker, not a professional scientific kind of guy. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to leave that for about 8 hours, and I'm going to come back and show you the next step. Some things to be mindful of when you're making this is your own state of mind. Some people have said that if you're in an angry or fearful state of mind, maybe you're worried about making it, going to do it wrong or something like that, the ormus is quite sensitive to that kind of energy. So I try to be in a neutral state of mind while making it, even positive, even maybe put on some nice music, anything to enhance the ormus. I used to use crystals in the room while making ormus as well. At the moment I don't have them though. So yeah, I'll come back in about 8 hours and show you the next step. So here I am, 8 hours later that night, and I'm going to do the first rinse cycle. I'm just being very careful to make sure I don't move the jar, which will disturb the ormus. Pulling the camera in to show you a better angle, closer look. So what I'm going to do now is remove that water, but being careful not to disturb the ormus. I'm going to use a hose to siphon it, and this bottle, like a suction bottle, to get any other water, and use this bottle here to collect the top water. So I have a thin hose here, and if you use a fat hose, it'll siphon the water too quickly and it will shake up the ormus, which you don't want. So just using a thin hose, you can siphon it off. To do this, stick one end into the water, and on the other end suck the water through, into some will come into your mouth to get the water flowing, and then just spit out the water that you sucked into your mouth, and that will create the siphoning effect. And so now you can see the water is going from the jar to this bottle. You've got to have the water siphoning downwards. It'll only work if the gravity can pull it down. So place your other bottle or jar or jug, whatever you're using to collect the siphoned water, below the level of the jar, like I'm doing in this video. Okay, so I've just sped this up a bit. This isn't real time. It's a little bit slow because of how small the hose is, but it's good because, as you can see, it's not even disturbing the ormus in the slightest bit. Okay, so now most of the water's gone. What I'm going to do now is change from the siphoning to using the suction bottle. This just makes it more accurate, so I can get closer to the ormus without sucking too much of the ormus up. So this water here is quite salty, actually very salty, so I don't use it for anything, I just tip it down the drain. Okay, now I'm going to use the suction bottle. I just picked this up from a science shop. Yeah, I didn't actually need to use it too much because the siphoning actually does quite a good job. Okay, now I'm going to top it up with my distilled water again. Clean distilled water, back up to the top. Giving it a stir, little stir. And then recovering it with the aluminum foil. Yep. So that's the end of the first rinse cycle. Now here I am the next day. This is the next morning, and this is the second rinse cycle. Once again, I'm being careful not to disturb the jar. As you can see, I'm quite tired. It's early in the morning. And I'm just going to repeat the same thing as I did in the first rinse cycle. So now the water is a lot less salty compared to the first rinse cycle, but it's still not, in my opinion, it's still not good enough, clean enough to use it to water plants or anything like that. Yep, so there we go. Using the suction bottle again to remove any of that top water. And topping it up again with clean distilled water. Stirring, replacing the cap and replacing the aluminum cover once again. Okay, so now it is later that day. So this is still the second day, the afternoon of the second day, and this is the third rinse cycle. Now I'm using a bowl to collect my siphoned water. And now the water is tasting a lot cleaner, a lot fresher. Hardly any salt flavor now. And so what I do with this water is I will feed it to some plants. I have a few fruit trees at home, so I just give it to my fruit trees. I actually sometimes will purposely suck up a bit of the ormus so I can feed it to my plants. Okay, so recovering again, and that's the third rinse cycle complete. Now I'm just showing you that I have a backup of distilled water in larger jugs, in case anyone was wondering how my bottle mysteriously gets filled. Okay, so the next morning, the fourth and final rinse. Okay, so I noticed there was a few specks of something on the top of the water, so I'm just using the suction bottle to clean them off. And siphoning once again. Oh, I've disturbed some of the ormus, as you could see there. It's been a bit clumsy, but that's alright, I can feed it to my plants. Okay, so that's done and now topped up. Okay, so now I've finished 4 rinse cycles. Now I'm just going to decanter the rest of the water. And take out the ormus which is ready to be used. What happened on the last rinse was it took a long time for the ormus to settle. Actually, I'm not sure exactly, but I think this is what people talk about it levitating. This often happens on my 4th rinse cycle, and I'm not sure why. If I left it at the 3rd rinse cycle, I don't know if that means it's ready to be used or not, but yeah, it just stayed cloudy for a long time. Normally it just settles down. It would be like over halfway after this, like 2 or 3 hours, you know, but after coming back from 10 hours it only settled a little bit, like a couple of centimeters. And a lot of it actually had settled to the bottom, it's just the rest of it was very cloudy still. So this is what people might be talking about when they say the ormus was levitating. Now, I don't know if it's just the 4th rinse cycle, maybe that means that it's ready, maybe it's the temperature, maybe it's now in a lighter water substance, like there's no more salt, there's no more sodium hydroxide. So if anyone knows what this is, please comment, because I'm curious. It's happened to me many times. I should have shown you for evidence, but yeah, I didn't. Sorry about that. Next time I will. Alright, so I'll decant the remaining water. So yeah, now all I can taste is just clean water. There's no other flavour in there anymore. It's just water. Alright, now switch to the bottle to get a finer straw in there. Alright, so that's most of the water out. There is, you can see there's a little bit of water on the top layer, but if I continue to go I'm just going to be sucking out ormus. Alright, now I'm just going to put them into these glass jars. I've got a ceramic jug here. I like it because it's got the handle and the spout. Make it easy. Make my life easy, you know? Alright, so this is how I do it. To get it into the jars. and I fill it right to the top. Try to get a better view this time. I usually use a bigger jar, so that's why this cup's good, because it fits in a lot better. But for this video I'm making it in a smaller jar. Okay, so as you can see, I need another jar. Oh, a glass bottle, sorry, I need another glass bottle. But anyway, what's going to happen is the ormus is going to settle down in these jars, in these bottles, maybe even halfway or so, and I'm going to decanter the water and top them back up with the rest of my ormus. I'll have a taste of it now and give it a try. Not too much. About 5 mils or so, I'll just give it a try. Yep, it's pretty good. It's how it normally tastes. Chalky texture, fishy taste. Yeah, pretty good this time. So quite happy. Yep, stay tuned. So that's the final of my batch here. I'm just going to decanter a bit of this water off the top. Let's try to get it as concentrated as possible. And I still have some left in my jar, so I will just top it up with that. But that's pretty much it, finished now. there's just a little bit left in the jar here. I'm gonna drink some for breakfast, and yeah, that's it. I'll keep decantering my finished bottles and leave just a little bit of water on top so it doesn't dry off, like make a skin. But yeah, that's it finished.